Y'all like Sonic? Y'all like Pokemon? What if we put them together? That's right, today I'm taking the cast of Sonic the Hedgehog, well some of them, and turning them into Pokemon. Now, I've done Sonic previously when I did various video game mascots. You can check out that video, of course. There will be an iCard. I really like making these Fakemon, and for those who haven't seen my previous videos, I'm no artist, so what I do instead is I kind of fuse them with a Pokemon, mix up some of the various artwork that we've been given, and try creating a new Pokemon using one as a basis inspired by one of these characters. Now, we got 5 really fun ones today, and I want to, just get right into it. But before I do, if you want to see more, obviously comment. I'll make a part 2 if people want it. Or other franchises, of course, I'd be happy to do so. But that's only going to happen if you like and subscribe alongside your comment. Then I'll know to make more. Anyway, let's get right into it. So I'm going to go through the order in which these characters were brought to the games. So first off, we have Miles Tails Prower. Tails, the iconic sidekick to Sonic the Hedgehog, and our little fox friend. Now, the interesting thing of Tails compared to, say, Sonic when I was designing him, was we have options here for foxes. Now, a lot of you probably came to minds like Vulpix or Ninetales due to the fact they're kitsune, they have multiple tails. That would be a good starting point. I didn't like that because Tails in Universe is supposed to be a fox that has an extra tail when you shouldn't. So I didn't want to take a Pokemon that already has a lot of tails. It felt disingenuous to his backstory. Instead, I went with a very simple fox Pokemon, a very standard generic fox, because that's what Tails really is. So I went with Nickit from Galar. A lot of people probably don't remember this line. Nickit's like an early game, I believe Dark type you can get. Not the best, not the craziest Pokemon, but it is a fun little fox. And the head shape alone, I really liked for Tails. So I used Nickit as a basis, and I'll get right into it. This is Ticket. And I love Ticket. Ticket's adorable. So, obviously, I just recolored Nickit into Tails' colors. I did mess with the ears a ton to get the colors just right. But I kept the underbelly, all that the same. The tails are actually from a Lycanroc, because I wanted the big fluffy tail. So I took a Lycanroc, added a bit of extra color so it has that white tip. And rather than recreating his shoes, I figured I would just put like some red. They look like bands, but it's just his body. The red really pops, and I really like that. And I also love his big eyes, his big, happy blue eyes. It just feels so much like just a happy little fox. And Tails, of course, is just a happy little guy. He goes through a lot, but he's just a little guy. I even gave him his little hair tufts that he has. There's not the 3, there's just the 2, because I felt 3 felt too much with just the head. But overall, this is such a solid mix of a Pokemon and a Sonic character, because Tails is not that crazy or far removed from a fox. Because he still has just the general fox shape, and the big difference is that second tail, unlike the other characters where they very much stretch thin what it means to be whatever animal they're going for. It meant that Tails came out really good, and is probably my favorite one that I've done for this batch. And I really love this one. I think it's adorable. I love just the big eyes. I believe they're from Sprigatito. It's just so cute. I just want to protect him like normal Tails, so I think I did a good job. Now, in Universe, and yes, I'm bringing back abilities. I heard the complaints when I did the mascots of having no abilities, so the abilities are coming back. In Universe, Ticket are very loyal companions. They're hard to spot due to the fact that they are able to fly thanks to their 2 tails by some miracle. So they're hard to find, but usually when you find them, if they will easily be attached to you, kind of clingy, but they're adorable and very helpful. They're also very intelligent creatures, being on par with certain psychic types that are able to understand human mathematics. Ticket is not only intelligent, but a super cuddly, adorable friend. Ticket is pure flying type, and for the moves, Tail Slap and Tailwind, because it has tail in it, and they both fit with things he's done in the past. Fly, because he flies. And then Gyro Ball, because I wanted some form of ball attack. And for abilities, I gave Download. Obviously, Tails, the character, is just very smart. Ticket is also smart, so Ticket takes the opportunity to understand the opponent before actually getting into battle, and this causes them to have a lower defense. Now, I have Sonic and Tails, but obviously, we need him. The one who doesn't chuckle, and that's Knuckles. Now, Knuckles is very funny because he's an echidna. Now, there is no echidna Pokemon, and echidnas themselves are creatures that exist on this planet. They are something. And if you know more about echidna anatomy, you know that they're horror creatures. They are. Oh boy. But after doing some research, I've looked at animals that were similar and or adjacent to echidnas. There wasn't really that many. But I found a Pokemon that I felt was similar enough and close enough animal-wise that it would work. And that is Hisuian Typhlosion. Obviously, why Hisuian over normal Typhlosion? I just think Hisuian vibe-wise, like artwork-wise, the vibe felt more like Knuckles than normal Typhlosion, so we went with the Hisuian one. That being said, there's a lot of work that had to be done to reach Knuckflosion. Yeah, he's a giant red blob. I think he's a funny-looking guy. So what I did was I just took Hisuian Typhlosion, removed all the ghost aspects, made him red. I did keep his little collar because it just turned into Knuckles' little like white chest, and then I separated the mouth of it for the color. The only big thing was the dreads, Knuckles' spines. Because they're such a prominent part of his character, I want to make them these nice, big, like spikes almost. Sort of like how you would see like old Sonic artwork with his head. That's what I kind of was going for. So he has these big locks, big spiky locks that are his spines, of course. And the only bits of color besides the white are these two little green stripes on his little feet. Because his shoes are red, they really blend in, and it's really just those Lego bricks on him and his green ankles that really stand out, and the Lego brick just didn't fit. So he just has little bits of green like on his feet, and it just makes it pop so much more. I really love it. It's just a little detail too. The only other thing is his hands. His hands are, you know, they're not the biggest like Knuckles, his actual hands, but they're Makuhita hands with just little spikes on them, looking just like Knuckles with his glorified boxing gloves. And overall, I do think this came out really good. I do think this really captures just Knuckles' presence and vibe. Obviously, he feels very much like Sonic Boom Knuckles almost. He's very big, but I'm willing to let that slide for the sake that I just think he's funny. In universe, Knuckflosion is a very rare Pokemon. Very few and far between. Some say there's only one remaining in the entire world. They're very protective Pokemon, looking after all the smaller critters and protecting any shiny Pokemon. They love their shiny Pokemon. Knuckflosion here is a fighting ground type because Knuckles is a fighter. And while some of you will be like, why isn't he flying? Well, he can glide. He spends a lot more time on land, focusing on Angel Island. He's very attached with, you know, the environment and nature, and he digs. Like, ground felt more fitting for me. For moves, Mach Punch and Sky Uppercut are both fighting moves that just depict general actions Knuckles has done in the past. Dig because he digs, and Fire Punch because the Flames of Disaster. For his ability, I gave Iron Fist. It just boosts power punching moves, make complete sense for Knuckles. So Knuckflosion has that. Very simple concept for the Pokemon, you know, it's glorified like Machamp, but still fun to have. And I do really like the trio of the Sonic, Tails, Knuckles. They're very different Pokemon, but I still could see them together in like a Sonic Hero sense. And again, it's just fun seeing them in this style. Now we're gonna jump ahead to Sonic Adventure. And you might be thinking, what character was introduced in Sonic Adventure? Big in the Cat! That's right, I decided to do Big the Cat because I thought it was funny. Now, I know a lot of people who are maybe newer to the Sonic fan base don't understand what the appeal and or hatred towards Big the Cat is. No one actually knows. He's just kind of the meme of the Sonic fandom. The interesting thing with Big is not only is he a upright cat, which is already making me think of like a Pokemon like Incineroar, but he's fat. He's a big round cat. So while I could have gone for a standing up cat, I decided to actually focus on his shape. The general he's a big circle. He is a big guy. So I wanted a big cat. And unfortunately, Pokemon focuses their cats on being more slender, being these more like leopards and ferocious, like they're cool Pokemon, you know? But there was one cat that stood out to me. Purugly. Purugly is a big oval of a cat, and I think it works really well for big. Just vibe-wise, they're just these big, random-looking cats. And they're funny. They are funny in different ways. So, Per Ugly, in my opinion, works great for Big and really just matches the vibe. While Per Ugly definitely looks a lot grumpier, I was going to be able to fix that thanks to my Photoshop skill. So I present to you Bigly. So Bigly is a Per Ugly with this dark purple base and then some lighter purple because Big is a striped cat. Not a lot of people actually realize that, but if you look closely, he is striped. He also has this big white just like belly area. If you were to stand upright, it would match Big's general color scheme. And to represent the gloves on top of his little shoes, I just gave little yellow paws. They felt fitting enough. The main thing was the tail. That's actually Incineroar tail because it definitely matched with Big's fuzzy tail back there. He has this yellow, it looks like a collar, it's just yellow ring around him. This reference to the giant belt he wears. And for the head, he has extra whiskers just like he does. And his ears are from Wigglytuff. They're just long ears, big ears standing out. And overall, if Big was on two legs and you showed me this, I'd believe you. Like, it looks like Big to me, and I really like how it came out. I'm very happy about this. Is it goofy and silly? Yes. But so are both the Pokemon, so it makes sense that a combination of the two is this thing in the Pokemon universe. Bigly are the equivalent of a Snorlax and a Slowpoke's love child. This very slow, chunky Pokemon. And while they pose zero threat to anything around them, they have such incredible strength that they don't realize that they end up causing massive issues for the locals. Bigly is a pure normal type, with the moves Belly Drum because he's got a big old belly, Vicious Rend to reference the fact that Big's whole thing is he fishes, and then Body Slam and Heavy Slam to reference some of his attacks from like heroes, and just, again, his whole everything around him combat-wise is related to either fishing or his big stomach, so I focused on the stomach. And for ability, Oblivious. Now for the one you're all here for. Sonic Adventure 2, we have Shadow the Hedgehog. Now, we all love Shadow the Hedgehog. Iconic character. One of the game characters of all time, genuinely. I was given an interesting task here, and that's because Shadow, of course, is a hedgehog, but is very similar to Sonic. While design-wise, they're obviously very different, and character-wise, they're very different. They're very much still similarly designed. So rather than trying to think of a new Pokemon, I actually used my Sonic design and retooled that again to make Shadow, because Shadow is a spin on the hedgehog that Sonic is. So if you want to see more of where I got these design elements from my Sonic, again, you can watch that original video. But just to briefly explain, I didn't like the idea of giving Sonic Shaman because Shaman just is not... Sonic is so far removed from a hedgehog, Shaman just didn't work. Sandslash was, I felt, a lot closer to fit, and it's sort of a hedgehog. So that's what I went with, and I ended up with this design. Now, in Shadow's case, we had to take a spin on the Sonic design, and I present to you Shatslash. This grumpy little hedgehog, I think, is really fun. Now, the interesting thing here is that rather than the quills going down in the back, they go up now. So it actually looks a lot more like Shadow than does Sonic, since I don't have to worry about them going down and how that looks with the artwork. He has little spikes in the back now just to make it a little more aggressive. And the red lines going out and highlighting everything. You have little red highlights around the eyes, that's simple color changes. Overall, I didn't really add anything. I just kind of retooled stuff. The only big difference are these extra rings I put to reference his limiters, his limiter rings that he wears. They're much bigger and they don't really work properly, like design-wise, but it definitely adds to design. And the only other thing was I changed the shoes up. I didn't give the full like hover boots effect, but I did put gold around them just so it looks a bit more like them. And they have a different style compared to the Sonic one, so you can still see the very visual difference between their two shoes. In universe, Shatslash is the darkest Pokemon of them all. They're loner Pokemon. You'll never find one in a group of literally anyone, and they tend to be very forgetful. They have very bad memories, and they struggle to pick up on what's right and wrong, but they do whatever they feel is right in the moment. For moves, this one I had a lot of fun with. Doom Desire to reference the connection to Doom and the Black Arms. Wicked Blow because, my god, if there's a dark move that represents Shadow, I think they're just the strongest punch that goes through anything makes sense. Oblivion Wing to reference the Doom Wings from Sonic X Shadow Generations. And then Curse, because Shadow curses. For abilities, I gave Levitate. This is actually the reference to the hover boots. why would he get hit by ground moves if he can hover? I'm really happy with Shad Slash, and I actually like it way more than I do Sonic. But the two together, I think, look really good, and I could see this being a fun alternative to Sonic and Shadow. Now, lastly, we have my all-time favorite Sonic character. And I do mean that. That out of the entire cast, this is my personal favorite due to my varying degrees of nostalgia for the games and shows this character was in, and that is Cream the Rabbit. I think Cream the Rabbit is such an adorable little bunny. I just want to protect her. She's the sweetest little thing. I love her in Sonic X. I played her so much when I played Sonic Advance. I just think she's a really fun character being... She's younger than Tails, but has some of my favorite lines. And again, she's just adorable. She just wants to play for Chow. She just wants to see her mom. Like, she's just a little bunny. So I can just appreciate her. Now, again, like Tails previously, there's a lot of bunny Pokemon. Now, I did not want to do the disservice of giving either Bannier or Lopunny to Cream, because no. And a lot of the other bunnies that came to mind was like Bunnelby, Scorbunny, but the one I went with was Reboot, Scorbunny's Evo. Specifically because Reboot does one thing that Cream does as well, and that's the ears are folded back. I know I could have probably done Diggersby as well, but proportionally it didn't work out as well. So I went with Reboot. But I like having the ears back because it looks a lot more like Cream, and obviously they're to the side, not fully back, but that's fine. It's not that big of a thing to get worried about. The other thing was Reboot looks like he has clothes, and obviously Cream and all the other female Sonic characters have clothes, so it does work better with that design as well. But it is interesting trying to work this into Reboot, because Reboot, while it's a simple design, it has a lot of colors, and it's different. So it was a challenge. It's probably the roughest one of the bunch, but I do think it has potential to be just another cute Pokemon. And I present to you Creamoot. Now, what if Reboot was happy? That is this Pokemon in a nutshell. The main takeaway here is this dress. I colored everything else around Reboot that whatever tannish color Cream is. Cream color. The color is based off of Cream. Her name's Cream. It's Cream. I'm stupid. The main thing for me was the dress. I wanted to really get that right, so I just kind of extended it with some various other Pokemon parts to create this little dress effect. She even has a little, like, it's not really a bow, but she just has a little blue part of her neck, just like her little ribbon, I guess. The other thing was her feet. I didn't want to just put shoes on her, so I colored her feet orange, and then the connecting part, this would be like her ankle, I guess. It's weird how it's proportioned, but her ankle is yellow to match the big yellow splotches on her shoes. The other thing really was just focusing on the head. Obviously from this angle, it just looks like one color, but you can see right here, if you look at the arm, from behind, you have that white and orange just like Cream does in her artwork, and she even has the orange stripe going down her head, or an orange outlining her eyes. There's a lot of this little bits of orange, just like Cream has, and overall, it's definitely the roughest one, the worst one of the bunch, but I still really like it, and I still think it's a cute little Pokemon. Just a happy little bunny, and that's all Cream is. That's all the Pokemon is. Probably should have gone for a happy Pokemon, not Reboot, because Reboot is not a happy Pokemon. And the universe, Creamoot is a very childish Pokemon. Creamoot's a very helpful Pokemon, very childish. You'll always find it playing with flowers or just with other Pokemon, really making the most of its day-to-day, and always being caring and around other Pokemon. Creamoot's never really a loner type of Pokemon. There's always other Pokemon, usually taking care of it, but it tries its best to help out when it can. This is a pure normal type Pokemon. I didn't want to get flying. It felt disingenuous because while she can fly for years, it's not really a prominent feature like Tails. For moves, I gave After You because that's a very much Cream thing. Acrobatics to reference the advanced games because that's a lot of acrobatic moves in that, and Fly to reference her flying ability. And then in like Sonic X mainly, there's a whole episode, I think, dedicated to Cream making like a flower crown and whatnot. Like there's a lot of flowers and Cream the Rabbit in Sonic X to what I remember. So I gave her Flower Shield to reference that. Lastly, her ability is Parental Bond, and you can take this two ways. Cream, of course, is the only character in the entire franchise of Sonic to have an official mother, being Vanilla, so you could reference that relationship being how she's able to attack twice, or in the other sense, her connection with Cheese, while they're not obviously parent and child, They have such a close relationship. I would make the argument that Cheese is here in some way helping to attack, and that is why Parental Bond is still activating. And that's the 5 characters I made from Sonic the Hedgehog. And if you take Sonic, that is 6 of cast of 200. I swear to God, so many characters in these games. I'm really happy with how these turned out, and I had a lot of fun making these. I'm a big Sonic fan, but I don't really talk about it too much. But it was fun looking at the artwork and looking at Pokemon, taking some franchises I love and mixing them together. If you want to see me mix up even more franchises, again, comment, let me know. We'll happily take suggestions. And if you want to see a Sonic Part 2 where I do even more characters, I don't know, maybe I'll do the Chaotix, Amy, Silver, heck, I'll do Jet the Hawk too. With that being said, I'm going to let y'all go. I'm going to wish y'all a lovely day.